Heidi Collins Podcast. Hi, I'm with Richie Hardcore today. Hi, Richie.
Hey, Heidi, how are you?
Good, thank you. He's my third guest, maybe, if I put you in number 3 position. I just want to introduce him. So he's a passionate social change campaigner, public speaker, fight coach, and personal trainer. Richie is or was a White Ribbon ambassador.
I continue to be, yeah.
Yep. He does drug and alcohol counselling, or you did, most recently with the Prostitutes Collective.
This is all a little outdated.
Outdated, but you have done that.
I did alcohol and drug harm prevention work. So I'm not, a lot of people get that mixed up. Yeah, so I'm not a trained counsellor, but I did work around how do you change alcohol and drugs, norms, behaviours, shit like that.
Okay. Yeah. He travels the country talking to teenagers about consensual sex and the harm of pornography? Yes. Okay, good. Got one right. He's a very good martial artist. I also got that right.
Thank you.
Winning national titles and fighting in Japan, Thailand and Australia. These days he trains kickboxers and anyone wanting to learn a combat sport and runs a girls-only clinic each week. Do you still do that?
I do not.
You do not? Oh, bummer.
Where did you pull this from? My website?
Well, I used to come to that clinic.
Yeah, I know you did.
Hang on. He's a mental health advocate. On top of all of this, each Monday, Lydia O'Donnell and Richie invite anyone to join them in a weekly One Step is All It Takes running crew at Victoria Park Pavilion to clear your head, set your week up right, and no matter how fast or slow, no fashionable clothes, fitness or fees required, just turn up for free good vibes and motivation.
Nailed it.
Boom. And he's a feminine ally. He is my friend, and we've had some big conversations about domestic violence, social justice, and the current climate we are trying to navigate the best we can. Today we're going to be talking about respecting women and what that looks like for him in the space that he works, plays, and trains in.
Thank you. You know my favourite part of that?
What?
I'm your friend.
You're my friend.
That was my favourite part of the introduction.
Oh, I'm into that. So, clearly, Richie does a lot of things, and there's a lot of things that are important to him. What I like about him is that we can talk about feelings. This is good for me. Richie trained me a couple of times. I was wanting to learn some Muay Thai versus kickboxing, and so we did a bit of that for a while.
Yeah.
He's an oversharer. I like that about him. Am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, no, dude. I bought a T-shirt on the internet, and I'm so... Can I swear on your podcast?
You didn't know F-bombs.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I was very upset
that
the T-shirt they sent me was in a feminine sizing because it says... oversharing in the captions, and I was like, "That's my whole life, girl. Like, give me a dude size of those T-shirts."
Yeah, I love it. So, respecting women, that's your jam, right? Well, one of your jams.
Well, I try my best.
Yeah, and how? I mean, in this space, it's so political, isn't it? In the space that we're working in at the moment, all of us, and you travel the country teaching young men about consensual sex.
Yeah, so I've been traveling to Australia and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, as a paid educator.
That's fabulous.
And
the harms of pornography, right?
It's all okay, so you can't divorce one from the other.
Right.
So I have several broad themes, but I talk about masculinity and what stereotypical tropes of masculinity are and how they're shaped and how capitalist consumer culture continues to drive those ideas about what it means to be a man and how traditional notions of masculinity are passed down through generations.
Yeah, isn't it?
And there's so much research now that shows us that the more an individual tries to fit into that man box, as it were, the more psychological distress they have.
Really?
And, there's science that shows that.
Wow. Why is that?
Because no one fits a stereotype.
Right.
So a guy called Malik and a bunch of researchers in 2003 discovered what they called the Conformity to Masculine Norms Index.
Yes.
11 things, of which I can only remember a handful, but it's like being wealthy, being a playboy, disdain for homosexuals, being muscular physically, all these sorts of different things that men are supposed to be.
Yes.
They found through their research that the more you tried to be like that, the more psychological distress you had.
Wow.
And we see that played out throughout Australia, New Zealand, the OECD essentially, when you look at rates of suicide.
And depression.
Right. Young men.
Particularly in New Zealand, our suicide rate is through the roof.
When you look at rates of homicide in Australia, it's like young men killing other young men. In New Zealand, it's similar.
Yeah, wow.
When you look at assault, when you look at alcohol and drug harm reduction, alcohol and drug harm,
like
like young men are taking all these at-risk behaviors, driving fast as well.
Yeah, you're right.
Things like that.
Because that's
dying in car accidents.
Defined as masculine.
It's masculine.
It's risk-taking and adrenaline.
And then, but we're taught to be like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, like while there are biological differences between men and women, obviously.
Yeah.
You still go to a toy shop, look at what girls get sold. Kitchen appliances, fucking dolls.
Yeah, pink.
Yeah. Whereas boys get, cars and guns.
Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Very active versus passive ways of being.
Yeah. So let's just take it back a bit so we can just...
So I talk about all that sort of stuff, and then there's an interplay about pornography and pop culture and how that shapes our notions about equality when it comes to treating the females in our lives, the females in the world, and sex and consent.
Yes.
And then more by the numbers, like this is what consent is legally and isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and things you need to have when you're exploring your early sexual relationships and ongoing sexual relationships.
Yeah. So I just want to go back. How did you get into respecting, why did this become a theme in your life? And so, because it's one of your morals, right? One of your values that you abide by. So how, what, where, why?
Yeah, sure. So like all too many New Zealanders, I grew up with family violence.
Yes.
And to my father's credit, I've asked him, I was like, hey, a lot of people start asking me publicly about my childhood. And he was like, yeah, if you telling our story helps other people, then good for you, please, that's cool.
Nice. That's an involved man.
It's an involved man, you know. So my father suffers from a disease they call alcoholism, and that really negatively impacted on our family.
Yes.
It meant that at times he was violent towards my mother and myself.
Yes.
And that really shaped me as a young person, and that really, I guess, kind of underpins all of the professional work I do now.
Yes.
But before I was doing this in a professional space, I chose to abstain from alcohol and drugs. And I started exploring, feminist theory and literature when I was in my 20s.
Yeah. Because of your childhood?
No, that wasn't so much because of my childhood, actually.
Yeah.
So even when my dad had been abusive and he'd get sober, he'd be like, never be like that. My dad, for those problems, is a good man.
Yes.
And, I remember I got beat up in high school one time by a bunch of older guys, and I came home and I was like so frustrated and angry I was crying.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, it does a man good to cry. That's totally cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's a real powerful thing for a man to tell to his son, and that really sticks out.
Yeah.
And so he allowed me to be emotional literate,
which is kind of...
which is a funny thing.
It is, isn't it?
Because at the same time, when he was, with his alcoholism and his own struggles, he was also violent and aggressive and heaps of yelling and like bad language and name calling and which damaged, I guess my self-esteem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, so it's like, and I think that's what gets lost in the public discourse about family violence and about addiction.
Yeah.
Is that, it's like this big gray area. It's not black and white.
No, it's not. And the other thing is, I was struggling this week actually about this. There are still good people, even though they're violent. They need help. And
that's the thing.
There's still goodness in those people.
I was having this corridor yesterday with a woman who runs a lot of women's groups, and she works in the refuge. She's been with the women's refuge for like 25 years.
Yes.
She's like, how do we look at helping men who have been violent or abusive in a non-punitive fashion?
Yeah.
We think of dealing with alcohol and drug addiction increasingly in health-focused terms.
Yes.
Because we know that putting someone with issues in prison isn't going to necessarily fix them. In fact, it's probably going to exacerbate their issues.
Absolutely.
Well, it's the same with someone who's been violent, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't excuse their violence.
No.
And that doesn't... but at the same time, you do have to think this person's going to reintegrate into society at some time.
Yeah. And how are they going to do that effectively?
How's he going to do that? And they're in prison with a bunch of other violent people with similar social, psychological issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's an interesting conversation and a difficult one to have, and it's a brave one to have.
It's very brave.
Because if you put yourself out there saying that, then there are people who are going to misinterpret that as saying, family violence is okay. Well, it's not.
No.
It's never okay to call someone names, yell at them, intimidate them, check their phone excessively.
Yeah.
in fact, ever.
Yeah.
Like control who they hang out with, control their finances, push them, hit them.
And these are all...
And it's all in that spectrum.
Well, yeah, that's the bigger thing of domestic violence.
The big thing that we don't talk about.
It's not just the punches and the bruises. It's the psychological abuse.
And that actually has much deeper wounds.
It does, and we don't talk about it, so we don't understand it. So we think something's wrong with us, and we internalize it, or we stay, or,
And so, you ask, like, why do I do this work? Those early experiences really, I guess, drove my personal interest in it.
Yeah, right.
More academically and politically, when I was in my late teens, I really discovered really politicized music.
Yes.
So
punk.
Yeah, well, the hardcore scene.
Right.
So hardcore is a subgenre of punk. And it is the irony that I now am a porn educator and I changed my name to Richie Hardcore is not lost on me, and I make that joke all the time. But hardcore was a subgenre of punk.
Right.
And it was sonically more metallic influence, like from the metal scene. But it had a much more fix that rather than F that approach. A lot of that 70s punk, Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
Where it's quite nihilistic, a lot of heroin. like society sucks. Like we're going to be so anti-society. Well, the hardcore
anarchy, right?
Yeah, anarchy, do what we want, dress outlandishly, which I totally get. Let's reject this conformist culture.
Yeah.
But the hardcore scene that I fell into was very political songs about veganism and animal rights and capitalism.
Wow.
Yeah, so I would go to concerts and get fan-made magazines about these things, listen to songs about that, wear T-shirts about that. Yeah. And then I started doing radio at Auckland's 95 BFM, which is an independent broadcaster here. And I had a show called Viva la Hardcore.
Oh,
and it was all about hardcore music.
Did you finish that last year, that show?
No, I finished at BFM in 2015.
Oh, okay.
But they moved me, as I got better at radio, and I used to fill in for the breakfast show when Mike Havoc couldn't make it.
Yeah.
I did the drive show for a long time.
Yeah.
So I had a main, a run a station show.
Yeah.
And cool. I incorporate this aggressive music about stuff into it.
Yeah, which is cool.
And so that music really made me start exploring animal rights and methods of production and consumption. And, I didn't wear Nikes for 15 years until they finally got better worker.
Yeah, nice.
I mean, they're not great, but they're better,
Yeah, absolutely.
I started exploring those sorts of things. Where is my money going and what is it voting for in the world?
Yes.
How is it shaping the world that I'm living in? I'm just one person. I'm not going to change it by myself.
Yeah.
I was very disappointed to figure that out as I got older.
Yeah.
But I can try and live to the best of my ability, congruent with my values.
Yeah, absolutely.
None of us are perfect.
No, and we're all flawed.
We're all flawed.
Yeah.
And so within that, I was like, okay, well, it doesn't work that you're masturbating to pornography all the time.
Yeah.
Because I started listening to songs about feminism.
Yeah, right.
And so I started Googling, porn, yada, yada, yada. With caveats around it, I don't know, I can't think of who I was looking at. I found this website called One Angry Girl.
Yeah.
This is way back in the day.
So this is a porn website?
No, it was a feminist website.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. And I started, exploring the literature that looked at, radical feminism, really. And it really shaped my views. And I went on to read more and more literature and ended up going to university and doing a degree in politics. And that gave me, more tools and a lens through which to look at the world, and it just increasingly made sense that the more you sort of bought into porn and the more you were, I don't know, maintaining a patriarchal power dynamic in society.
Okay, two things.
The more you objectify people, the less you respect them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So intent and action. Right, that's what I like about you. So you have this intent and this moral compass, and then you really try and back that up the best that you can within the environmental climate, whatever we're trying to navigate, with action and putting your money where your mouth is, basically. The other thing is why, and this kind of leads into what you're just saying, why is it important to respect women? Why is it important?
I mean, I think it's important just to respect people.
I agree. But this whole objectification.
I think the more I do this work here in New Zealand and Australia and stuff, and speak online about things. Yeah. Like before Facebook changed its algorithm. Yeah. I'd put stuff up and like 3 million people would view it. Yeah. Talking about sex and consent. It was wild, and talking to people in New York. Yeah. I did this interview with Fight the New Drug, who are an American-based organization.
They do lots of good work
about porn. Yeah. Excuse me. But I'd have people from Bangladesh messaging me about their porn addiction.
But back to those guys though, because there's a lot of males that are suffering from impotence, aren't they, because of their porn addiction?
Yeah, erectile dysfunction. Yeah. Because porn is messing with your neurological chemistry. Yeah. I've talked to parents and educators, like their teenagers in their life, their kids or their students have got erectile dysfunction because their normal sexual experiences with a young woman don't arouse them the way that like a 5-in-1 gangbang will, that they've been masturbating to since they're like 12 years old.
Yeah, and because it's not like having a magazine in the old days, there was an end.
It's like this constant
supply.
We get hooked on like the likes from our Instagram account or Facebook account. There's science behind that. Yeah, yeah. You get like a dopamine hit. Yeah, absolutely. Just like any other sort of drug or stimulant. Yeah, coffee, chocolate, cocaine. Yeah. And porn is the same. Yeah. And it's in our hands every single day.
Yeah. Or access to it.
Yeah. So you ask, like, why is woman... I mean, I don't know how to answer that. Like, you should respect all people, but I think we need to understand, as men, that women continue to live with oppression in their daily existence. Yes. Every day, women don't get paid as much. Women don't make up the boardrooms of powerful companies. Yes. Women are still underrepresented in parliament. Yes. Women still do the bulk of domestic labor. Yes. Women still have to be scared about walking in certain places at night.
I know, I still am, and I've done kickboxing and some martial arts, and I'm still cautious.
Because
dudes are stronger.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have to accept that biological fact. Yeah. Dudes are stronger, and dudes are conditioned to use violence against women.
And that leads me to explain what patriarchy is, just so that everyone...
Oh, dude, you've come with the big questions.
Sorry.
I can't give you a dictionary definition of patriarchy.
But so if someone says, Richie, what's patriarchy?
I just say it's the dominance of men in society, historically and traditionally.
Yeah, okay.
All those things that I just talked to you. I know there's a bit of definition of that. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No,
but men still are in positions of power. Yes. Men still call the shots. Even the fact that Jacinda Ardern is the Prime Minister and is having a baby today. Yes. Congratulations, Jacinda.
Yes, congratulations.
That's atypical. If you look around the world, there are countries where women just got the right to drive, like Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, true. Yeah, absolutely.
Or even here in New Zealand, like 1 in 4. There's a call to the police every 4 minutes for family violence, and the majority of that are women who are being victimized. Yeah, absolutely. So we live in a patriarchal culture which still keeps that dominance and upholds those notions. Yeah, and I think we all need to be part in that change. And increasingly, I'm saying it's men who need to be involved in that conversation.
Which is something I love about you, is given that you're a martial artist and you're in dojos where it's tough. Masculine. It is tough,
quote unquote tough.
Yeah. And you're full of tattoos. Your whole body is got tattoos and everything. I've seen you call out your mates and go, dude, that wasn't a joke.
Yeah, well,
I like that though.
Thanks. Well, that's the thing, man. Like, it's like I go to a hui, right? Yeah. I went to this hui for Amnesty International at Action Station. Yes. And it was about stopping harassment of women on the internet and sexual abuse of women on the internet. Yeah. What can we do about this?
Oh my God, that's massive.
How many men were in that room out of about 40 people? Counting me, 2.
No way.
And I'm like, this is preaching to the converted.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bubble of people who already get it, and it's great. They're going to go out and do all this great work that's well-intentioned. Yeah. But you actually need men in the room to design these projects, design these approaches, because men know how men speak. Yes. And to be honest, we still live in a sexist patriarchal culture. Yep. A lot of men aren't going to listen to a woman telling them about how to behave better.
Well, teenagers aren't going to listen to a woman. Male teenagers are not going to listen to a female speaking on stage about consensual sex, and it's like talking to their mum. You rock in, you're hardcore, you're tattoos, and you're like, bro!
I do this thing, I'm like, who's looked at porn? And I put my hand up, and they all look real ashamed, and I'm like, whatever, you guys are liars, man. Like, I went to an all-boys high school, you know? Yeah. And then we have this, if you can break it down and take them on an emotional high and low ride.
And not be better than them.
And not be better than them. I'm like, I'm not perfect, blah, blah, blah.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah. And like, guys get it.
Yeah.
You know, like I think we're like, you know, there are all these justifiably angry movements out there. No, like, you know, feminist movements. Yeah. You know, like men are trash and like all men suck. And I get that rage. Yeah. Because women have been oppressed and hurt in their day-to-day existence and continue to be. Yeah. But at the same time, when you have to meet people where they are and understand that young men are victims of patriarchy too. Yeah. You know, like if we keep young men trapped in that box of how they're meant to behave and how they're meant to look and how they're meant to posture, they're going to kill themselves. Yeah. We see that. Yeah, absolutely. And if they don't kill themselves, they're going to get a drug and alcohol problem, or they're going to not know how to talk about their feelings, or they're gonna, you know, patriarchy, I think, keeps men either in the position where they're more likely to hurt themselves, or they're more likely to hurt the woman in their lives, essentially. Yeah. Because when you put a pot on a whole bunch of feelings, that's going to blow up sometime, and it's going to blow up some way. Yeah.
Well, it's like the corks, right? You've got fingers, thumbs, push them all down, then you run out.
So what happens? Well, in our culture, in a culture which still, and I do see the understanding how people might think it's contradictory, in our culture, we value violence and power in men. Yeah. You know, you're looking tough, or you're tough, you look strong. Yeah. That stuff gets praise. Yeah, yeah. And if you get lauded for being aggressive and you get put down for being gentle and passive, well, then that's gonna come out somehow. Yeah. We did this Gender Equal New Zealand did this body of research. Yes. Gender Equal New Zealand is an initiative backed by the National Council of Women here in Aotearoa. Yeah. They did a body of research about like gender roles and gender behaviour. Yeah. The name escapes me. And they asked a bunch of men, of which I was one, to, you know, be spokespeople for it. Yes. And we gave this presentation down in Parliament, and we had this big chat, and it was really, really cool. Yeah. What they found is that people are more accepting, generally in New Zealand, of women's social mobility and their ability to be anything and do anything. Yeah. You can be the Prime Minister, you can be the boss. People are starting to understand that a woman's place isn't in the kitchen. Yeah, right. You know, which is good. That's good news. Yeah, it is good news. There's a but on that, though, isn't there? What Gender Equal New Zealand also found through their body of research is that they still have limited conceptions of what men can be. It's not all right for men to stay at home and look after the kids. Yeah. If you're a man and you back down from a fight, you're still considered to be weak. If you're a man and you cry, that's not okay. Boys can't play with dolls. Yeah. We still don't think boys should wear pink sometimes, you know what I mean? Yeah. I remember I was wearing kickboxing shorts that were black and pink once, and I jumped in the ring and this guy was like, "Who's wearing pink? Knock him out!" And it's like, oh no, you know, like I won the kickboxing fight because, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Those things stand out.
Yeah, they do.
And so, for as much as we are advancing, there's still like a good, I think it was about 25% of respondents to this survey had quite stereotypical ideas about what it is to be a man. Wow. And when we keep men locked in that box, that means that women are going to get hurt. Yeah, absolutely. I think. Yeah, so when you say, well, why should we respect, from a purely self-interested viewpoint, why should men respect women? Yeah. Well, because it's going to be better for you if you challenge those notions of what you're meant to be. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, all people, irrespective of their gender or gender identity, should be treated equally and treated fairly and kindly and not discriminated against. Yeah, okay. You know, that should be like a fundamental human right. No one is better or less than anyone else. No. And yet we still have these ideas that are transmitted to us day in, day out through our culture, which maintain that asymmetrical balance of power. Yeah. You know, you look at pornography, you look at music videos, you look at advertising, you look at the TV shows, you look at the jokes people share on Facebook and the memes that they post. Yeah. They all maintain and teach, speaking broadly and generally. That women are in this inferior space. Yeah. You know, you look at hip hop music videos, you look at Hollywood, you look at, you know, that very famous Dolce & Gabbana ad where...
Oh, the sex sells, right?
Yeah, sex sells, you know? Yeah, and because porn is such a huge market now, and it's everywhere, there's been a pornification of culture. Yeah. We see porn tropes.
Pornification of culture.
Yeah. You look at an advertisement for an ice block. It doesn't take much to imagine a penis in that hand rather than an ice block in the hand. It's very phallic. Yeah. It's a woman who's got no face, just a mouth that's got red lipstick on it.
Right, I never thought about that.
But it's an objectifying and fetishizing the female mouth.
Yeah, sure.
And when you turn the female body into a thing that is just designed to give sexual pleasure, well, that takes away the personhood of that individual, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Porn does it all the time.
Yeah.
In porn, women aren't people with feelings and dreams and ambitions.
No.
They're holes to be filled.
Yeah.
They're, how can I provide friction for the male penis?
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'll use a whole bunch of degrading language to tell that woman, then, you speak frankly?
Yes.
She's a slut and she's a whore and she's, she's a dirty little bitch.
Yeah.
And you like that, don't you?
Yeah, right.
While I'm degrading you and hurting you and pulling your hair and choking you with my penis, and then 5 other men are going to do that.
Yeah.
We don't have that discussion about porn.
No.
We think that porn is liberal and that you're a prude if you're not into porn, because unfortunately a lot of the initial pushback about porn was from a very Christian worldview.
Right.
Now, I'm not opposed to Christianity, but I'm also not opposed to casual sex.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of it. And
Thanks, Richie.
And it's
need to know basics.
and some of that was unhealthy in that it was like my own insecurity using sex for a form of validation.
Yeah, absolutely.
But most,
I think we've all done that.
We've all done that to some degree.
Yeah.
And I grew up feeling like I was ugly.
Yeah.
I thought I was really ugly, and if someone had sex with me, that's like a pretty powerful validation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it took me a long time to understand that.
Yeah.
And then I wasn't particularly good at being alone. And then yada, yada, yada. Anyway, point being, it was always kind and consensual.
Yeah.
I'm friends with like 90% of the girls that I used to have casual flings with.
Yeah, right.
Which I'm really kind of proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, point being, the pushback isn't about liberal attitudes to sex.
Yeah.
The pushback should be about degrading women, hurting women, and sexualizing that, and porn being the main form of sex education now.
And that's the thing. I've got 3 sons, right? And I'm their mother, so it's not. I have those conversations with them because that's my responsibility to guide them. However, I'm nervous for them because
you should be.
Yeah, well, I am, because I think there is a guy called Tony Porter that did Man Box. Is Tony Porter the... Anyway.
I don't know, sorry.
He was the one that first alerted my attention, just on the internet, just about having these conversations. And I've got teenagers, and the environment's completely different now.
Completely different.
And that freaks me out.
As it should, because kids have a natural curiosity towards sex. Yeah. And unfortunately...
Of course, that's healthy.
Yeah, that's healthy, But porn has become the de rigueur, de facto... way that kids learn about sex. Yeah. Our research tells us kids start looking at it about 11 to 13.
Oh, see that, but they don't have the emotional capacity.
They don't have the emotional capacity, and they don't have the critical filters to understand that what they're watching isn't reality. Yeah. And that most people don't want a penis in their mouth, vagina, and anus at the same time. Yeah. And if you do want to do that, you need to have a very nuanced, gentle, and kind conversation about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that doesn't happen in porn.
Yeah.
In porn, we see men telling women what to do
and how to do
women
it.
Paid to pretend to like it.
Yeah.
And when you watch people who are paid to pretend to like it getting hurt, what does that teach the viewer? Yeah. And then the viewer, of course, has an orgasm to that video.
So then that cements it?
So that cements it.
Right.
Because an orgasm is a powerful neurological reinforcer.
Right.
When you get a dopamine hit, it's your natural reward response.
Yeah.
You do cocaine, you get a massive overload of dopamine, feel fucking great, going to do it again, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Well, it's the same with porn. But unfortunately with porn, what we're seeing is men's dominance being sexualized. I'm speaking broadly and generally.
Yeah.
But most porn, the porn that teenage boys look at, the porn that most dudes look at, irrespective of their age, from 65 to 11, 10. I was 10 when I first saw a porn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. My friend's older brother. Oh, you want to watch porno? I had no idea what that was.
Right.
But I found it very exciting.
Yeah, of course.
Because I was like a 10-year-old boy.
Yeah.
They don't conceptualize that when you're masturbating to cruelty, that does something to you.
Wow, that's powerful. Yeah. I just have to have a moment.
Me too. But that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
So every day, hundreds of millions of men and some women.
Yeah.
In fact, increasing amounts of women.
Really?
Because we're all exposed to the same cultural drivers of behavior.
Yeah, sure.
Are masturbating to cruelty, and women being put down and called bitches and sluts and whores, and do you like that, you stupid little bitch? And young girls being sexualized, type teen into porn, into a porn site.
Really?
100%.
Yeah.
Like when you have paid adult actresses pretending to be teenage girls wearing braces and with cheerleader outfits, we're sexualizing children.
Yeah.
When you have intrafamilial sexual relationships in porn, it means daddy fucks stepdaughter or stepmom and teen son. That's a huge genre on porn. Yeah.
I'm learning things today.
Massive. It's a massive thing. What are you saying about sex within the family?
Yeah, that's saying that it's okay.
It's saying it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's a massive, and then we wonder why we have such rates of sexual abuse. Since I've been talking about these issues for the last 5 or so years publicly, increasingly publicly.
Yeah.
Do you know how many women I know that I love have told me about how they got sexually abused as kids, or how they got raped when they were 14, passed out drunk because the guy had sex with them. When in porn do you ever hear about consent, or should I wear a condom? Never. Or does that feel good, or tell me when you want to stop? Never happens. And then we have roast busters and things like that. Those kids are just following the script that we play for them. And then that seeps into our mainstream music. You think of like Post Malone or G-Eazy or A$AP Ferg or A$AP Rocky. You look at all their lyrics, they're deeply misogynistic. I'm not even saying don't listen to that music. Like that music comes on in the gym and I'm like, I'm gonna lift these weights. You know what I mean? The music is designed to be catchy and sound good. They have amazing people in the production of that. But you look at the lyrical content of that music,
brand forces.
It's like bitch this, thought that.
I only just learned what a thought was the other day. I was shocked.
That hoe over there.
I was just like,
but your teenage kid will know that.
Oh, quite possibly.
When you talk about the words that we use for sex these days, I'd hit that, I'd tear that pussy up, I'd tap that, tap and gap. I'd smash that. Smash is the new one, and that's in a G-Eazy song. When you use a word like smash instead of for sex, like young men will say this. See that girl over there? Would you smash that?
I've actually heard that.
You've actually heard that?
I've heard that.
When you say smash, well, you destroy something when you smash it.
Absolutely.
You smash someone over in a fight, like you smash a pane of glass when you're angry. You smash the wall. But these are the words that we use about sex now. What is that saying about how we value women as a culture, in a culture where there's a call to the police for family violence every 4 minutes. Where 1 to 3 to 1 in 5 women are a victim of sexual abuse in their lifetime. And 1 in 6 to 1 in 8 men.
That's really high. And New Zealand, we're really high, aren't we, in the statistics for all of this stuff?
We're some of the worst. I think, if not the worst.
I think we are. Don't quote me.
Don't quote me. But I should know this, but I'm underslept today.
No, that's fine. So
where do you start? How do you fix that?
Yeah, my lord, that's such a big question.
Well, it's a huge question, so, I mean...
Do we start by calling out our mates? Do we start by, like me, I think I need to go research this now and go have some proper conversations with my children.
Well, that's where it starts.
I don't understand it. I didn't understand it.
Totally. We need people to have free and frank and honest discussion with their kids. Because like I said earlier, kids want to know these things, and if we don't talk about them, they're going to find out on the internet, and the internet 9 times out of 10 is going to teach them all their stuff. So you need to you need to get over your own shame as a parent or as a caregiver.
Well, I don't think I have...
Not you personally, I mean like whoever's listening.
Just for any mothers out there, I don't think it's a shame. It's about, I don't even know what to say to them. Like, it's more about managing their embarrassment and being okay. So maybe it's about starting gently.
Starting gently and just letting them know, hey, if you want to talk about sex or masturbation or do you got some questions about girls or boys. That does make me but like, honest, like if your kid is like exploring their sexuality and gay or, exploring their gender identity. They need to know that they can come to you and talk to you. And if you don't know the answer, that you'll go to them to Rainbow Youth or Family Planning or go on a website and find some information out and you'll do it together. And
isn't it interesting?
And just letting them know that. So I have a point here. I've become a stepfather, which is really powerful for me.
Beautiful.
I never planned on doing that.
I know. I was surprised. It's amazing.
I'm surprised. But our little man, like, he's real psyched on his mum's booty, you know, like, he wants to come over and grab her breasts, you know, like, he's only 4, he's not that long ago, he was breastfeeding for whatever reason.
Yeah. And he's little.
And he's little. He's just a kid.
Yeah.
Like,
it's just a body.
It's just a body to him.
Or a leg, or
And for me, doing this work, I'm just like, hey, yo, what's up, little man? Before you grab your mum's bum, just ask her if it's okay.
Oh, bless.
How do you need to role model that? And there's someone out there listening going, oh, that's a bit PC, gone mad. But actually, it's not.
Yeah.
If you don't teach people that everyone has the right to bodily autonomy, well, you're setting that kid up for hurting someone else, potentially.
And I don't think well, I know if I speak for myself, I haven't thought about that.
I was at a hui the other week around stopping men's violence, and an older woman, wonderful woman, she said to her maybe teenage daughter, when she said, "I'll give him a hug." Don't ever make anyone give anyone a hug.
No, I've done that with my kids.
Do you know?
A relative was like, give me a kiss, and my son was like, and I said, you don't have to.
Yeah.
And this relative got really angry at me. I'm like,
you can't make people give people kisses.
You can't.
If you are talking someone in and coercing someone to giving you a hug or a kiss, well, what does that translate to when you start exploring your sex life?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. The absence of no doesn't mean yes.
Yes.
But
say that again.
The absence of no doesn't mean yes.
Yeah.
But we have so many cases where young men will ignore body language and rape someone.
Yeah.
And not even think it's rape. You know, I read this really good article once, and it's called "My Rapist Doesn't Know He's a Rapist" because our culture didn't teach him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's actually true.
But you're going back to your question, like, how do we do this? We role model good behavior.
Yep.
We allow our kids to ask us anything. We need to talk to our politicians and lawmakers about how do we use technology to limit access to things like pornography.
Yep.
I don't believe censorship works. Banning doesn't work.
No.
But we need to make sure that our young people are protected from looking at harmful images that are going to shape their sex lives and their ideas about power dynamics within society for the rest of their lives.
And that's their life.
It's their life.
Yeah.
I've spent my last 20 years, 18 or so, decolonizing myself.
Yeah.
I think about my early sexual relationships.
Yeah.
And I've literally emailed girls that I used to.
I know you told me when you did that.
That I used to sleep with.
Yeah.
You know, like, and be like, hey, I know this is weird, but I was reflecting that when we were together, I was looking at a lot of porn, and if I ever made you feel uncomfortable, I just want to apologize.
Yeah.
And
that's beautiful.
And they've always been like, oh, everything I did was consensual. I had this one partner and she said, oh, this is really nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
You never made me do anything. Everything was always consensual.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I've come to understand that I'd always do what guys wanted me to do sexually because that's what culture taught me.
Yeah.
And I thought that if I did what guys wanted, they'd love me more.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying before. I haven't thought about my body because I'm a mother to 3 children. My body was theirs with breastfeeding and birth, and you know.
Yeah.
So you don't. Yeah.
I'm not saying you have to be like no affection.
No.
People need affection. You just need to
absolutely.
understand that, like, if someone wants to touch a sexual body part,
Yeah.
or a body part that has potential to be sexual, because breasts and buttocks aren't inherently sexual. We culturally make them that way.
Yeah, we sexualize them.
We sexualize them with those ice block ads.
Yeah. Which I'd never thought about either. Learning heaps today, Richie.
We need to just teach kids how to do that in an age-appropriate way.
Yeah.
Going back to, like, again, how do we, limiting access to pornography, teaching young people critical understandings about things like pornography and, music video culture.
Yeah.
And giving them the tools to navigate the world that they live in, and making it consistent.
Yeah,
because there is scope within our school curriculums to do these sorts of things, but it's very haphazard. So some schools have got really good programs, others not so much.
Yeah.
And how do we have everyone having the same understandings about these issues?
Well, isn't the other problem though is whoever teaches the class has to have their own. They have to have done their own work. And address their own issues. I know. This, right? Because if you don't, what do you bring to the table?
What do you bring to the table? You bring your own lived history.
Yeah, or your baggage, or
your baggage,
whatever.
and you have to be able to have honest conversations about your values and why you think what you think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to sound self-aggrandizing, like, please don't think that, but because I have done this work for so long now, and as a guy who was dating and stuff like that, like, I literally have had, like, lovers say stuff like, you're a bit overly consensual, which is funny. Yeah. But you know what? It's like, am I overly consensual, or is it just that we haven't taught men to check in about sex?
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, look, I haven't always got it right. I'm not saying that I've been a perfect person. I haven't.
No.
You know, like there are definitely things that I wish I'd known before and done better.
Mistakes are the price we pay for wisdom.
Oh, hey, that's a good one.
You know,
let's put that on a t-shirt.
Okay.
But
I want royalties though.
But it's like I think we just need to teach all people to understand where they're at and how they can do it better.
Yeah.
And if they need to, even say sorry for things they've done in the past.
I know. I love the idea of that. If I got some text saying, you know, I'm sorry, and someone checking in with me, I just think very novel and very considerate.
Well, this is what's happening. You know, I know we've been talking about porn a lot this interview, this conversation, but in porn there is no checking in.
No,
there is never a partner saying, "Can I do this? Does that feel good for you?"
Yeah. So what's the way forward? I mean, there's more white ribbon. You know, there's Vic who's doing.
Vic Tamati's a good friend of mine or colleague of mine, Phil Paikia. I think it's actually. So I spoke in Gisborne last week, and I said it's actually not about people like myself and Vic and Phil and Tim Marshall and any sort of like figurey-heady type person. Yeah. It's all people, irrespective of their gender, being able to have conversations with people around them about what's okay and what's not okay. Yeah. When you hear someone say, "Don't be a girl, harden up," be like, "That's not okay, bro." Yeah. You know, like, you know what's cool for men? To be gentle. Yeah. If you hear someone say, "Oh, why didn't she cook you dinner when you got home?" Yeah. Say, well, it's not actually a woman's place to cook dinner.
Yeah, so start calling out people.
Actually not calling them out, calling them in. Because what we've developed, and I've seen this, and I've been on the receiving end of this, is there are a lot of aggressive people who do have the right ideas, but the way they communicate those ideas puts everyone's back up. Okay. When you blame someone for something that they don't know about, they're just going to be defensive and call you PC gone mad. Yeah. When you say, "Oh, hey, bro, I know you're just joking," but when you joke like that, this is what you're transmitting, or the ideas that you're talking about are conveying. You're kind of saying this is okay. Yeah. And so talk with them. You've got to frame it for them. I agree. When you say, "You're a bad person, you're a sexist asshole," people are like, "No, I'm not." Yeah. When you say toxic masculinity, when you say rape culture, people don't understand those terms. No. Most people think, "I'm not toxic. My friends aren't toxic. I'm not a rapist. I don't know anyone who's a rapist." Yeah. But you need to understand that while most men are good men and most men aren't responsible for hurting women individually, all men are responsible for creating the culture in which women are hurt. And we need to reframe that culture. Yeah. So all men and all women, all people who don't identify as either, need to have these conversations and look at challenging what's normal. Yeah. Gently, I think. I've come to understand that change is a million patient conversations. Yeah. Unless you're going to kick in the door of the government and like have an armed revolution, well, nothing's going to happen overnight. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's intergenerational change. Yes. It's taken us hundreds of years to be where we are. Yeah. It's going to be quicker because of the internet, because of the desire for change now, you know. But I think things will get better. We have starting to have more women leaders. Look at Jacinda, amazing. Yeah. Maternity leave as a prime minister, amazing. I know. I'm so proud of her. Yeah. You know, Barack Obama, first African American president. Yeah. You know, like things are gently changing, but we need to have more and more of these conversations. Yeah, because to be fair, while I talk about change and I'm trying to be optimistic there, I'm tired of reading the same statistics or worse statistics about sexual violence, family violence. I don't want people I've never met telling me how their boyfriend used to put like lighters out on them. Yeah. Or, did my boyfriend rape me last night? Stranger from the internet sends me. I was really drunk. I don't really remember. Yeah. Can I get raped as a girlfriend? Yeah. You know, I don't want young men committing suicide. I don't want young men killing other young men in the streets. You know how many of my friends have been to prison for a stupid assault? Yeah. Heaps of them. Right. You know, it's ridiculous. Yeah. But we still don't give men the tools to talk about what's going on inside themselves. Or permission. Yeah. We even shame them for doing that. Yeah. Men and women do that. Yeah, absolutely. You know? Yeah, absolutely. When a woman says, "Just be a real man," yeah, well, it upholds that space. That upholds that space. What's a real man? Yeah, absolutely. You know, like, we need to break down those stereotypes of masculinity. We need to have better conversations, understanding about what is okay in a sexual relationship and what isn't. We need people to understand explicitly what consent is.
Yeah.
We need to know that the media that we're consuming is teaching us all the wrong stuff, and we need to give young people the critical filters to understand it, because they're not going to avoid it.
Yes, I'm into that. We're going to wrap up now. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for your time.
That's all right. Thank you for your time. I'm your buddy. You can't say that to me. I want to know. So I finish all these segments with your top 3 girl codes. And so, do you know what that is? And would you like to share something with me?
My top 3 girl codes. So my top 3 tips for being...
Well, like, what's your moral compass around... Like, for me, one of your girl codes would be respect women.
Okay, listen to women.
Yes, nice.
Listen to women and incorporate that lived experience and that wisdom into your way of being if you're a man, or if you're a lesbian partner or whatever.
Yeah,
you know? Listen to women. Come to know yourself.
Yeah, I mean...
I think so many of us act subconsciously, and we have no idea why we do the things we do, and we find ourselves in these often destructive cycles and unhealthy relationships. Yeah. I think when you start finding yourself struggling a little bit, therapy, reading, books, podcasts, exercise. Yeah. Come to explore yourself. Yeah. Know why you do what you do, or know why you feel what you feel. Come to know what you need. Yeah. To be a happy, content, healthier person most of the time. Yeah. And then you do no harm. Well, you limit your harm. You limit your harm. Yeah. So listen to women, come to know yourself. And I think learning to sit with discomfort. Yes. Learn to sit with pain. Get uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Yeah. And I think we live in a culture which is like, just, get over the last one, but get on a new one. Yeah. How do you get have over a drink, someone? Have a drink, let's get high, let's party, let's go shopping, let's eat ice cream, all these things that emotionally deaden us. Pornography, all these things that emotionally deaden us and mute us. Yes. I think actually if you can learn to feel your grief and your anger and work through that, then that's going to make you a better person, because the process of change happens in that space. When you go for a 20K run and you feel all those feelings and your brain's going crazy, and then you finish and you feel fresh, then you've grown in that moment. Yeah. When you just get fucked up every weekend, where is that change happening? Yeah, absolutely. And I think negative emotions are not necessarily bad emotions. That's a big learning for me recently. I used to be like, why am I always depressed? Yeah. I've struggled with depression the last few years. Yeah. But I've actually come to find that that's been one of my best teachers for knowing myself. Yeah, absolutely. All right, you're amazing. I love you. I love you too. I will see you soon. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. The Heidi Collins Podcast. Yeah.